Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shivanusutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So we welcome Diksha Khatka and Antriksh Prabhus. Even though they are joining partway through, you can please feel free to ask any and all questions. And they are also in the process of getting caught up on past recordings. All right, so today we will run a little faster as well as at our next class. Our next class will also start about 15 minutes early like today. So we will first finish chapter 16 leftover verses today, and then we will start chapter 17. Towards the end of the class today, you will get a mandatory spiritual endeavor, a very practical endeavor. Everybody will try to guide me on those inquiries. So stay tuned. Very, very important practical inquiry. And we'll see if any of you still feel Bhagavad Gita is boring or not. All right. So we are on chapter 16, the second section, which is verses 10 to 18, activities of the demoniac. And we finish up to verse number 16. So we'll finish off 17, 18, and then the last few verses also. Deepa, verse number 17, translation, chapter 16.
Prabhuji, I'm not able to read, sorry.
Okay, Diksha, Pasnit.
Prabhuji, verse number 17.
Correct.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 16, verse number 17. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulation.
So self-complacent, impudent. So they don't care for any authority. They think I am my own authority. So these are the activities of the demoniac, that they think I am authority. They are absorbed in delusion of wealth and prestige. They may perform some sacrifices only in name, just for the sake of name and fame. They are filled with pride, arrogance, and are without following any rules and regulations. Therefore, they do not care for vidhis. They just want to do rituals so that they will be respected. So scriptures tell us to do Nam Yajna, means chant the holy name. But the demoniac, they do yajna for their own name. They are not interested in chanting the holy name. They want to do the yajna so that they want people to know their name. That look, so and so person is so religious, doing yajna. They don't care for the actual purport of the yajna. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that so-called renunciates or so-called sannyasi, they take the dress of renounced order, means they take the dress of the orange dress, but then they engage in all sorts of nonsense in that orange dress. They take the dress of the renounced order just for their own prestige. They not only ruin themselves, but they ruin the reputation of the renounced order also. And in verse number 18, Krishna describes the various qualities present in the demoniac people. Ankur, verse number 18, translation. Ankur?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is it audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Um, Verse number 18. Be wielded by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion.
False ego or arrogance, strength, pride. They think the physical power or political power is the ultimate source of power, having taken shelter of lust and anger. So this combination of kama krodha has come up several times in Bhagavad Gita. Lust is the desire to enjoy, and krodha is the frustration from unfulfilled desire, unfulfilled lust. The rage that comes when the attempt to enjoy is frustrated. So different people can take not just lust, but power, bragging, arrogance also. And among divine qualities, which we discussed in the first 3 verses, Krishna has not talked about bhakti as the divine quality, because all these qualities, including the divine qualities, are actually material qualities. Now, these are material qualities, but if you read the purport for chapter 16, verses 1, 2, and 3, Srila Prabhupada calls the divine qualities as transcendental. So how do you understand that? That these are actually material qualities, but Prabhupada is calling them transcendental, even though Krishna has not referenced bhakti in the divine qualities. The answer is that Prabhupada calls these qualities as divine qualities because these qualities help one move towards transcendence. But the divine and demoniac qualities are all coming from material nature. These are material qualities. At the level of spiritual nature, the soul is always devoted to Krishna, hence soul cannot be demoniac. Questions, comments, realizations so far?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Can you please explain the last point, Prabhuji, where you said the soul cannot be demoniac?
Yeah. So the soul is always transcendental. We have discussed this in chapter 13 towards the end, that soul may be in a human body, soul may be in a terrorist body, soul may be in a animal body, reptile body, bird body, any of the 8.4 million bodies. The soul is always transcendental. It is the combination of the body that is overlaid on top of the soul that causes us to act in demoniac ways. Of course, we have also accumulated that qualities from our past. But soul is always transcendental. Pratish.
Prabhuji, you said that we accumulate the deeds from our past. Which part of it accumulates those past deeds, past karma?
So as soon as we become envious of Krishna, we all were in the spiritual world, but we became envious of Krishna. That started our karmic cycle, and we got pushed into material existence. Pratish.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? All right. So now, so there's a question posted in the chat that how does one happen to have demoniac characteristics? So we discussed that everyone has both sets of qualities, divine and demoniac. It is the association that causes the particular set of qualities to flourish. If we associate with devotees, then divine qualities will flourish. And if we associate with demoniac people, then demoniac qualities will flourish. You read Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the son of Krishna, Krishna's sons, Krishna and Bhumi Devi's son, what's his name? Starts with an N, Parakura something. I mean, he's Krishna's son, but he goes on to become a demon. Why? Because of association with a demon. So association is the primary reason. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, somebody has joined as iPhone. Can you please identify yourself?
Hello, Prabhu.
Who is it? Hare Krishna.
Yes, my name is Padma Kumar.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Okay.
So we will now continue to section 3, verses 19 to 22. Title is Consequences and Causes of Demoniac Activities. Meaning, what is the result and what makes people do these demoniac activities. Mansi, 19 translation.
Hare Krishna, text 19. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence into various demoniac species of life. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna says, I throw them into demoniac species. Now, this may seem and to beg a question that Krishna is saying, you are envious of me, so I will throw you in hell, plus put you in hell forever. So how do you understand this statement of Krishna? Question is Krishna personally having something against these people? Does Krishna cast them to eternal hellish existence? The answer is, we have to understand from the context. There is text and there is context. Without context, the text meaning may change. So Krishna is the Supreme Father. No matter how terrible the activities the children do, from father's point of view, they are mischievous activities. The father is saying that they are children, not grown up. Therefore, they are doing these mischievous activities. If child wants to do something terrible, the parent would say that if you do this terrible activity, then you will never be allowed to come into my house. Now, the purpose and the emphasis of a parent saying this strong statement to the child is not that get out of my house and never come back. Rather, the point is don't do that bad activity. Similarly, Krishna is speaking in same lines. The emphasis of Krishna's statement is not that I will throw you to hell. Rather, the emphasis of Krishna's statement is don't do these demoniac activities. So there is text and there is context. Both have to be combined. If you look at the words literally of this verse number 19, it will seem like Krishna is casting the person to hell forever. But in other parts of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states how even the lowest people can get elevated if they follow bhakti. If you recall towards the end of chapter 9, that lowest people or even those who do sinful activities, Krishna says in 9.30, Api chet suduracharo. no matter how sinful they are, they can still be elevated. The point is, we have to look at other places in Bhagavad Gita also to understand what this verse is saying. Bhagavad Gita is essentially one set of conversation. The divisions of chapters and the divisions of sections within a chapter are done by acharyas for ordinary people like me to understand. Otherwise, this is very difficult to understand. So here, Krishna's expression is more of displeasure and annoyance. And you can also say as a loving anger. So sometimes parents have to express tough love so that children learn. This is the lesson that is intended. So we have script reading purports. They are very important purports. In essence of time, read the purports by yourself. Any questions, comments, realizations? Matan, verse number 20, translation.
Hare Krishna. Attaining repeated birth among the species of demoniac life, O son of Kundi, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence.
Now, one does not have to misuse their free will. But if they misuse their free will, then they will have to suffer. If someone is determined not to follow the scriptures, well, the result is hell. Hell is not meant to cause a suffering. Rather, hell is meant to save us from suffering. Yes, I said the statement right. Hell is not meant to cause us suffering. Hell is meant to save us from suffering. How do you understand this? How is that possible? Hell is a place of suffering. How can hell save us from suffering? The point is, as long as we are disconnected from Krishna, we will suffer. Whether we are in heaven, on earth, or hell, does not matter. We will suffer. The basic denominator of suffering is always there in the material world, entire material universes. If our actions did not have consequences, then we will have to suffer more and more and more and forever, because we will continue the cycle of birth and death. When our actions have consequences, then these consequences remind us that for such and such action, I got so and so suffering. I don't want suffering. Therefore, the soul reforms. So, the fear of going to hell for suffering is a consequence of doing sinful activities. If this consequence was not there, well, we will continue sinful activities. But because of this consequence, the hell is actually meant to save us from suffering, that we realize, I don't want to suffer, let me transform. And this way the soul becomes sober, starts devotional services, and goes back home to Godhead. Therefore, the purpose of hell is to save us from the miseries of material existence. Pratyush, verse 20, purport, faster pace.
Verse 20 purport. It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demoniac. It is clearly stated that the demoniac people, life after life, are put into the wombs of similar demons, and not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they go down and down, so that at last they achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. It is clearly stated that such demons have practically no chance of receiving the mercy of God at any stage of later life. In the Vedas, also, it is stated that such persons gradually sink to become dogs and hogs. It may be then argued in this connection that God should not be advertised as merciful if he is not merciful to such demons. In answer to this question in the Vedanta Sutra, we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord, but this killing is also good for them. For in Vedic literature, we find that anyone who is killed by the Supreme Lord becomes liberated. There are instances in history of many asuras, Ravan, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, to whom the Lord appeared in various incarnations just to kill them. Therefore, God's mercy is shown to the asuras if they are fortunate enough to be killed by him. Hare Krishna.
Right, so Prabhupada explained that God is actually merciful. Looks like he's not, but you can think of like a doctor cutting open a patient. The doctor is not trying to hurt the patient. The doctor is actually trying to heal the patient. That same way, Krishna is trying to help us transform. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, how is placing like demons, asuras in the lowest status of life, like receiving the great mercy of Supreme Lord?
So they are exhausting their karma. It is their desire that they wanted to live in that particular manner. And we have discussed at great length that Krishna does not interfere with our free will. So just as when a parent tells all of us, I'm pretty sure all of us have gone through that same situation. The parent tells us, don't touch a live electric wire. I'm pretty sure all of us have had this shock at some point of time. Or something similar, that don't touch a hot pot, you will get burned. We have probably touched a hot pot. It's when we get that shock or when we touch that hot pot and we get burned, then we realize, oh, I should not be doing this. So by Krishna letting us experience the bad part, we then permanently transform, not artificially, but permanently transform, and we eternally go back to Godhead. Diksha.
Prabhuji, does this mean that the ones who've attained the body of dog or hogs are conscious of the fact that they need to like attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
We have discussed this in chapter 13 also, that the consciousness in human form of life is more evolved, more developed as compared to consciousness in that of animals. So animals' consciousness is more focused on eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. They are more focused on eating largely. Yeah, they do defend and sleep and mate also. They are largely focused on eating. If you look out of the window, you'll see a squirrel. It's constantly eating. Or you look at any other animal. So, because the consciousness is not so developed in the animal form of life, they are only exhausting their karma given to them. Yes, they are in the evolution cycle. The 8.4 million life forms are stacked one after the other. So, say somebody is in a dog body. When his karma for the dog body is finished, he will then evolve to the next form, whichever it is. I don't know the exact sequence. Bhagavatam gives a high level sequence, not the exact sequence. And he will evolve to the next body, then exhaust the karma in that body, then come to the next body, all the way till he gets evolved and comes to human form of life. Then he will start doing bhakti. Diksha?
Prabhuji, how does the getting electric shock analogy and then permanent transformation apply in this case?
So you tell me, or not just Diksha, but rest of you, anyone has had the feeling that this material world is misery after misery after misery after misery? Has anybody had this feeling?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right?
Yes,
So
Prabhuji.
when you get this feeling, this is the shock that at some point of time you will say, you know what, I don't want this misery. Krishna has described in chapter 8 that there is another nature which is eternal, where there is no misery. And at some point of time, we will all say, I have had enough of this material world. I want to go to a place where there is no misery. And until I get that shock, I will never have the impetus to go back home, back to Godhead. If you go back to our discussion for chapter 13, verses 8 to 12, in the purport for one of the paragraph is on Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. And Prabhupada says, unless we are fed up with this material world, with this cycle of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, until that time we will not get the impetus to go back home, back to Godhead. So in Bhagavatam and in some lectures also Prabhupada has said, material life is meant to be frustrated. Only then we will get the impetus to go back home, back to Godhead. Diksha?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, very good. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, as you mentioned, it's hard to get out from this because it's a materialistic world, right? So as we have a lot of responsibilities towards our family members, so how we can get out of it? Otherwise, in this mystery world, we just think about that everything is messed up, and we will
In
never.
Srimad Bhagavatam,
Mhm.
Canto 1 is the chapter where Dhritarashtra leaves home. It should be verse number 46, 44, 45, 46, one of the verse. Sri Narad Muni says, we all are under the stringent laws of guna, kala, and karma. How can we protect others? So the Bhagavatam references Canto 1, chapter 13, verse number 46. I will read the translation. Sri Narad Muni is explaining this verse to Yudhishthir Maharaj when Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura left home after Kurukshetra war. They were living in the palace, and one night Vidura chastised Dhritarashtra and Dhritarashtra got transformed and he left. Now Dhritarashtra is blind. Gandhari has also blindfolded herself, and they left without telling anybody. And Yudhishthir wanted to go look for them. So Sri Narad Muni gives this this verse 1.13.46. He says, this gross material body made of 5 elements is already under the control of Kala, Karma, and Guna. How then can it, being already in the jaws of the serpent, protect others? So we are in this illusion that we are taking care of our family members. We are not. Krishna is taking care of everyone. This does not mean we give up our responsibility. No, we still have to do our duty properly. And then in Canto 4, chapter 29, the same Sri Narad Muni gives spiritual realization to Prachina Bharishad. That Prachina Bharishad says, I want to now renounce, but his sons, the Prachetas, were doing austerities for 10,000 years. But he did not wait. He said, no, I just want to renounce and I just want to leave, go to forest, Vanaprastha life, sannyas life, and somebody will take care of my kingdom. So we have to come to this level. So these teachings from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita may seem extreme, but they explain a point with this extreme example so that it sticks on us. That we don't have to be attached to our family members. We have to have affection for our family members. We have to do our duty. But we have to treat the family members as devotees. Not that, oh, this is my child, this is my spouse. If I am not there, who will take care of them? No, Krishna will take care. We have to come to that level of surrender. Ankur Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I am hard-hearted. No, I am also in the same space like where Ankur Prabhu is. I'm just trying to explain what the scriptures are giving us as our goal. Right? I am exactly like Ankur Prabhu. I'm also attached to my own body, to my family members. But we have to come to this level, what the scriptures are telling us. Ankur Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhuji.
everybody on the same page? Padma Kumar, 21 translation. Parth Prabhu, 21 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, verse 21. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give this up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Hare Krishna.
We have discussed this verse multiple times, a very famous verse. That there are significant points in this verse. There are two metaphors given. The first metaphor is of dwaram. Now, dwaram does not refer to door, but it refers to mentality. So door is a means by which we come and go. A door is physical, but lust, anger, greed are not physical. So dwaram means mentality, that when we let ourselves be consumed by these emotions of lust, anger, and greed, then this becomes the pathway by which we go to hell. These emotions will make us act in such a way the consequences will be hell. Now we have discussed that each advertisement is a gateway to hell. Each advertisement is injecting into us lust, anger, and greed. Lust, anger, and greed are the primary causes of all the crimes in this world. The solution is to counter lust, anger, and greed, one needs a higher way of life to live, higher way to experience happiness, and this higher way is given by scriptures, which is devotional service. Lust, anger, and greed are the mentalities that take a person to hell. The second analogy is Nashanam Atmaha. So Nashanam is same as Atmaha. Atmaha means killer of the soul. Now this is killer of the soul is described in Shishopanishad and Srimad Bhagavatam. So we know from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 that soul cannot be killed. So why then Krishna also says Atmaha, killer of the soul. So Nasha means destruction, represents that the spiritual inclination of the soul is destroyed, because of which the soul is permanently or almost permanently suffering in the material world. Therefore, it's as good as killer of the soul. So Krishna is stating in this verse that one should give up these three: lust, anger, and greed. Raksha, verse 21, purport, faster pace.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, these three emotions, lust, anger, and greed, should we give these up completely, or if these emotions do rise, we need to find better ways to control it?
So in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is explanation given with examples of how to use each of our body parts, body senses, and desires in devotional service. So anger, we have already discussed at great length that anger is very detrimental. We should stay away from anger. When we have lust or desire, lust can mean lust, and lust can mean also desire. When we have desires, we have to purify our desires. So we have read in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 71, the very first line in the purport. Prabhupada says, desirelessness does not exist. But to desire for Krishna, that is desirelessness. Meaning, we all will have the desire to mate with an opposite sex, with a member of opposite sex. So, Srimad Bhagavatam describes that procreate with your married wife or married spouse only to begot Krishna conscious children. Otherwise, indulging in sex even with married wife, married spouse, is illicit sex because we are doing it for our own enjoyment. So there's a verse in Canto 7, I think, going by my contaminated memory, there's an actual verse which says that engage in sexual business only to begot Krishna conscious child. That's it. So if your capacity is one child, then engage in the activity one time, and that's it. If your ability is two children, then engage twice, and that too, that verse says in the purport, that verse says, engage in the sexual activity with a married spouse only after spiritual master gives you permission. Pratyush.
Yes, Prabhuji. And also, can you explain about the greed part?
Is described at great length in Nectar of Instruction, text number 2. There are 6 items harmful for spiritual path. And greed is in there. Prabhupada in the purport for Nectar of Instruction, text number 2, the very first line in the purport says, simple living and high thinking. So we have to live a simple life just to keep the body and soul together and focus more on spiritual life. And Acharyas have explained that scriptures say simple living and high thinking, but in the material world, people simply live and hardly think because they are caught up in making money during the day and sleeping and enjoying during the night. So we have to live a simple life. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, it's chapter number I forget, should be 28, I think, but chapter number I don't remember, it's verse number 7. Kapila Dev, who is Krishna himself, he explains that it is not possible for you to get more opulences than what is already destined. Say you may think I will endeavor more and earn more money. Lord Kapila, who is Krishna himself, he says it's not possible. Everyone will get his own share at the proper time. But it's true.
Understood, Prabhuji. Very good, sir.
Raksha 21 purport.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. The beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demoniac life must try to give up these 3 enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada says, a sane man should give this up. Lust, anger, and greed. People who succumb to lust, anger, and greed, they become insane. Prabhupada says, which can kill the self to the extent that there is no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. No possibility means it is not that permanently it is not possible. It means that as long as a person succumbs to lust, anger, and greed till that time, it will be impossible. Questions, comments, realizations? Follow me, 22 translation.
Hare Krishna, verse 22, translation. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination.
So most often, we are our own greatest enemies. For us to be on the spiritual path, we are our own enemies. When people smoke or drink, they commit suicide. So poison is immediate physical destruction, and then there is slow suicide by addicted to drinking alcohol, drugs, smoking, etc. Now, one may not intend to commit suicide, but this is committing a slow suicide. Then there are others who are acting in self-defeating ways. When we act according to lust, anger, and greed, often makes us act which are harmful to us. Harmful not just spiritually, but harmful materially also. So all these anarthas, they impel us towards terrible and negative actions. And therefore, in the previous verse number 21, Krishna has used the word tyajit, means one must give up lust, anger, and greed. And here in 22 also Krishna says vimukta, means one must become free from lust, anger, and greed. So what this means is that it is possible to become free from lust, anger, and greed. As long as I am contaminated, it will seem very difficult. Just as if you ask a drunkard to give up drinking, he will say, no, I cannot live without. But when he goes through therapy and he's out of his addiction, he is no longer addicted. He says, no, I don't need to drink anymore. Although maybe very rare cases, but it is possible. Similarly, it is possible to get out of all the anarthas. So there's a question posted in the chat. It says, do initiated devotees follow all these principles to engage in sex with spouse only for the number of times when you have to beg out the children? So understand that initiation on itself is not going to take you back home, back to Godhead. Initiation is important, that it connects you with the parampara. And then the disciple has to follow the rules and regulations. So initiation, everybody gets it. But disciples, only few become. Those who follow the rules and regulations, only those few become disciples. So yes, many initiated devotees, they do follow. I mean, it's a personal situation, but many initiated devotees do take permission from spiritual master. Okay, now I'm ready to beg out a child. Please, do you give me permission? Only when the spiritual master gives permission is when they engage in the activity. Does that answer the inquiry? All right. So in the purport, we'll skip reading the purport. Prabhupada explains about Varnashram system, that Varnashram system is meant to elevate us on the path of spirituality. Yeah, Prabhupada explains Shreyas that we should have freedom from lust, anger, and greed, or at least regulate lust, anger, and greed. Lust, anger, and greed make one blind to everything except the object of desire. Questions, comments, realizations before the last two verses for chapter 16? All right. So section 4 is verses 23 and 24. The choice between divine and demoniac. So these outlines the choices that whether I want to act in divine ways or demoniac way. If I want to act in divine way, how to act in divine way is by following the scriptures. So the word, the Sanskrit word will come up in these verses is Shastram Vidim, that follow scriptures. Priya 23 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text 23. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Hare Krishna.
So one gives up scriptural injunctions, then one acts in lust only. Lust covers our spiritual nature. Therefore, there is no question of paramgatim, eternal destination. Lust keeps us perpetually dissatisfied, wanting more and more and more and more. Krishna has stated this in chapter 3, that lust is insatiable fire, and indulgence in lust is fuel to fire. That makes the fire blaze more and more and more. Therefore, one cannot gain happiness at all. So we don't deny or reject our feelings. Rather, we regulate and direct our feelings according to scriptures. But when the feeling is not in accordance with scripture, then that feeling has to be rejected. Otherwise, our own feelings can be our own enemies. Subhash Prabhu, 23 purport, paragraph number 1, faster pace.
Hare Krishna, verse 23 purport. As described before, the Shastra Vidhi or the direction of the Shastra is given to the different caste and order of human society. Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and act whimsically according to his lust, greed, and desire, then he never will be perfect in his life. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is to be known as the lowest of mankind. In the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and to follow the regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. But if he does not follow them, then he degrades himself. But even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. And even if he accepts the existence of God, if he does not engage himself in the service of the Lord, his attempts are spoiled. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. Hare Krishna.
Continue, Subhash Prabhu, read the second paragraph.
Oh, okay. The word kama karataha is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows that this is forbidden, but still he acts. This is called acting whimsically. He knows that this should be done, but still he does not do it. Therefore, he is called whimsical. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for the human life. The human life is especially meant for purifying one's existence, and one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness. Hare Krishna.
Right? Prabhupada says, follow the scriptures, otherwise you are acting whimsically. The last verse for chapter 16, we'll have a heavy conversation on this verse. Antriksh Prabhu, are you able to read 24 translation, chapter 16? Antriksh Prabhu? Diksha Khatka, are you able to read chapter 16, verse 24 translation?
One should therefore, is this right, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated.
Therefore, according to scriptures, determine and understand what is duty and what is not duty. So understand why it is so important to act according to scriptures. And I will give you 4 points, and these will be eye-opener, that in getting guidance for choosing our actions, people generally act according to these 4 items. The first is mood, logic, fashion, and tradition. I will explain all these 4. So mood, I feel like this or I feel like doing this. Well, tomorrow I have exam, but right now I feel like watching a movie. Hence, if I use my feeling as a parameter, I can be very much misled by my mood. Therefore, this following my mood is not proper. Second is logic. Now, some may say this makes sense. Now, among these 4 items of mood, logic, fashion, and tradition, logic seems to be the most logical and most sensible among these 4 parameters. But logic is not always sound. We all have 4 defects. Therefore, our logic is also subject to 4 defects. Then the third item, how people act, is fashion. Oh, everybody is doing it, so I will also do it. Well, we will not attain any destination by following a fashion. And the fourth item, tradition. Oh, we have always done it historically from parents, grandparents. Therefore, I will continue to do it. So fashion is that everyone is doing it currently. Tradition is that we have always done it. Whether our parents, grandparents have eaten meat, we have to realize that what does meat eating involve? It involves killing animals. Animals also have life and consciousness like us. and have feelings and emotions. So just because ancestors have been doing it, that on itself does not make it right. Therefore, we need scriptures as our guide. So scriptures are the first and the last basis of our action. Scriptures are like the lighthouse. So, say when a ship is traveling, the lighthouse has to be stationary at one place, which is a safe place, so that the ship can move in that direction. The above four items of mood, logic, fashion, and tradition, according to which people act in the material world, they also seem like lighthouses. But these lighthouses themselves are moving. That one day this fashion is there, the second day, second fashion. The lighthouse themselves are moving. So, how can you follow something that itself is moving? Lighthouses are supposed to stay fixed to know that this is a safe landing situation and the other side is dangerous. But if the lighthouse itself keeps moving, so where we thought it was safe, that part turns out to be rocky and the boat might get destroyed. So we can use these four items of mood, logic, fashion, tradition as subordinate factors contributing to a decision, but scriptures should be the first and the final authority in making decision to act. Therefore, from day one of our Bhagavad Gita class, I have been saying Shastra Chakshu. What's the verse for this? That whatever you say, whatever you hear, whatever we see, we try to correlate with scriptures, and this way we are living and acting according to eyes of scriptures. Questions, comments, realizations? So in the purport, Prabhupada describes the solution. Shreyanshi, chapter 16, 24, purport, faster pace.
As stated in the 15th chapter, all the rules and regulations of the Vedas are meant for knowing Krishna. If one understands Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita and becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, engaging himself in devotional service, he has reached the highest perfection of knowledge offered by the Vedic literature. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this process very easy. He asked people simply to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and to engage in the devotional service of the Lord and eat the remnants of foodstuff offered to the deity. One who is directly engaged in all these devotional activities is to be understood as having studied all Vedic literature. He has come to the conclusion perfectly. Of course, for the ordinary persons who are not in Krishna consciousness or who are not engaged in devotional service, what is to be done and what is not to be done must be decided by the injunctions of the Vedas. One should act accordingly without argument. This is called following the principles of Shastra or scripture. Shastra is without the four principal defects that are visible in the conditioned soul: imperfect senses, the propensity for cheating, certainty of committing mistakes, and certainty of being illusioned. These four principal defects in conditioned life disqualify one from putting forth rules and regulations. Therefore, the rules and regulations as described in the Shastra, being above these defects, are accepted without alteration by all great saints, acharyas, and great souls. In India,
So Prabhupada talks about devotional services, then chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as the solution, that scriptures are free from four defects. Prabhupada says in human society, aversion to principles of understanding the Supreme Lord is the cause of all fall downs. And Prabhupada explains that this is the greatest offense in human life, that a person is given $1 billion. The person throws away $1 billion and starts looking for food in garbage. That is how tragic it is that we are given the human form of life. And among the 8.4 million life forms, only in human form of life, spirituality is possible. Sense gratification is available in all forms of life. But instead of using the human form of life for spirituality, people are engaged running after sense gratification. And Prabhupada says this is the greatest offense of human life, that they are wasting their precious human life. That sense gratification is like garbage going around punas charita charanam, that chewing the chew. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj in 7.5.30, that we all have lived all the previous life forms of 8.4 million life forms, where we have already enjoyed all those sense enjoyment, but we are trying to do the same in human form of life. This is chewing the chewed. Therefore, we never get satisfaction. So if someone gives up the opportunity in human form of life to attain eternal happiness, but chases after sense gratification, that person is extremely unfortunate. In that sense, this is offensive. And Srila Prabhupada says towards the end of the purport that if one is guided by a spiritual master, then under the guidance, one can attain supreme destination. We study scriptures to understand principles of life and mold our life accordingly. By this, we will be able to attain Param Gatim, attain supreme perfection. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of divine and demoniac natures. Questions, comments, realizations? So chapter 16 outlines the choices whether I want to act in divine way or demoniac way. If I want to act in divine way, how to act in divine way is to act according to scriptures, Shastram Vidim. All right, chapter 17, have undivided attention as usual. I will do a lot of base setting talking. The initial discussion of chapter 17 is very, very important. And towards the end of our class today, you are also going to get a very, very important and mandatory spiritual endeavor and a very practical spiritual endeavor. Everyone will try to complete the endeavor by end of day Wednesday on the Google form that I will post in the chat. And for this chapter 17, Srila Prabhupada has only one lecture. It's a spectacular lecture. I request all of you to definitely listen to this Srila Prabhupada's lecture on chapter 17. I will lay the foundation for what Prabhupada is going to explain in the lecture. That Prabhupada lecture that I'm going to post today, Prabhupada has only this one lecture for chapter 17. And Prabhupada lays a spectacular foundation of why this chapter 17 is very important. So all of you should also have the chart that I sent to you. We will populate the chart. I also have it on the screen. So you have 2 pages. Ensure you write on the correct side with the black boxes. I'll let you know when to populate. Till that time, you can please take notes on a different page. We'll start populating the chart from verse number 4 onwards. So chapter 17, title is Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga. The divisions of faith is divided into 4 sections. Section 1, verses 1 to 4, recognize faith levels from the modes. Section 2, verses 5 and 6, demoniac austerity, meaning we should not be misled by externals. Therefore, austerity can be demoniac also. Section 3 is verses 7 to 22. Food, sacrifice, austerity, and charity in the 3 modes. So Krishna talks about behavioral characteristics which can help us understand which mode is influencing a person. And section 4 is verses 23 to 28. Making sacrifices transcendental by uttering Om Tat Sat. So lastly, in this chapter, Krishna says that whatever activity one is doing, whatever sacrifices one is doing, one can make them transcendental by uttering Om Tat Sat. So uttering Om Tat Sat is not just an utterance, rather it is a profound philosophical understanding and a particular consciousness which is a little bit higher, not at the highest, but a little bit higher than ordinary materialistic people. So I have described that as part of our Bhagavad Gita, you will get 4 major charts. So you have populated Yoga Ladder chart as chart number 1, then chapter 14 modes chart as chart number 2. This chapter 17 chart is number 3 and the chapter 18 chart is number 4 chart, and you will recognize that the chapter 17 and chapter 18 chart are an extension of chart number 3 that we populated for chapter 14, the modes. So chapter 17 and chapter 18 charts are discussion of the modes at a little granular level for our day-to-day activity, that how on a day-to-day basis I can try to be in the mode of goodness more and more and more. So I have described the overview of the last 6 chapters. That 13.22 is the seed giving verse for the entire material existence. And chapter 15 describes the material existence coming from this seed, the bhungte, the enjoying mentality, as an upside down banyan tree. And the enjoying mentality seed as well as the tree of material existence is watered or nourished by the modes which is described in chapter 14. Chapter 16 describes the upper and the lower parts, means the two extremes of the tree, meaning the divine and the demoniac. Chapter 17 describes all those who fall in between, meaning somebody who is not divine and somebody is not demoniac in full ways, but he's somewhere in between. Chapter 17 discusses what happens to these people. Monarch Prabhu, chapter 17, verse 1 translation.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 17, verse 1. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance?
So it's a very important inquiry that Arjuna has made. So the connection between chapter 16 and chapter 17 is quite logical and self-evident from reading the verse number 1. That chapter 16 ended with a contrast. That one is those who reject scriptures, they don't attain any perfection. And the second is those who accept scriptures, they attain perfection. Therefore, one should follow scriptures. Then one will be able to act properly. So Krishna says, those who reject scriptures, they act according to lust, according to self-centered desires. Now, here in chapter 17, Arjuna asks about another possibility. That some people who reject scriptures but act according to some other faith, which is not based on scriptures, then what happens to them? This is the connection between chapter 16 and chapter 17. And Krishna answers that then one has to look at the three modes of material nature and see how a person is situated within the three modes. So Krishna gives behavioral characteristics of the various items like worship in the three modes, foods in the three modes, etc. There are so many factors. He's giving all these day-to-day activities in the three modes so that we can understand which mode is influencing the person. From the behavior according to the modes, one can judge the level of faith of that person. So we discussed at the start of chapter 13 about the flow of chapter 13 all the way to chapter 18, which I just described. So chapter 17 is talking about the in-between people of the two extremes described in chapter 16. Chapter 16 says one extreme is divine and the other extreme is demoniac. Chapter 17 is in between these two extremes. That those people who are not following scriptures, but they are not necessarily with selfish desires. They have some kind of faith, but that is non-scriptural faith. What happens to such people? Everybody realizes the importance of 17.1 verse. Questions, comments, realizations? I got silence.
Yes, Prabhuji. I realized that my family also believe in God, but they don't know about scripture. So they believe, but they don't know much
Correct. Very
about
good. So
truth.
what happens to them? So they are believing something, but which is not scriptures. So what happens to them? So there will be 4 levels described here in this chapter 17. We'll discuss as we progress. Rest of you, Monarch?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I got confused here in the word to their own imagination. So, Prabhu, is it Arjuna talking about some other worship, like according to other scriptures, or like the one who's like acting according to like whimsically without any knowledge?
Both ways. So somebody is acting whimsically, or somebody has created all these religions in the material world. These are created by people in the modes, and they are worshipping. Well, they are in either worshipping, which is under the modes, or they are acting whimsically by themselves, which is also under the modes. Main could be in the mode of ignorance. Monarch?
Okay, got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Rest of you, crystal clear on the base setting for chapter 17? I got a lot of silence.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Actually, my feelings is that it is applicable to most of the people, because most of us do not know about the directives of the scriptures, but from our childhood we are being guided by our parents to do these things. These are good and these are bad.
Yeah.
So that is also the also coming in the scriptural guidance.
Yeah,
Is it
so
like that?
it's not. It's not. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a very important point Path Prabhu is making. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Prachina Bharisat says this to Srila Narad Muni when Srila Narad Muni gives him all the scriptural instructions. And Prachina Bharisat understands, and Prachina Bharisat says, all the people so far have been misguiding me. They've been telling me to do these rituals which are useless. Patru.
Prabhuji, yes, I understood. But thing is that I'm not talking about rituals. I'm talking about the way of doing things. That means our to regulate our activities, to be disciplined, to be honest.
Yeah,
These are the qualities.
so these qualities are overlapping in scriptures. And we have discussed that in material world people, they may also have some of the qualities described in Bhagavad Gita. But it is very difficult to sustain those qualities without a base. For bhakti yogis like you, it is bhakti as the base which gives a solid foundation to develop all these qualities as well as sustain these qualities. So these qualities, some may be able to sustain in the material world even without doing bhakti. I'm not denying that fact. But in general, it is very difficult to sustain something without a solid foundation, just as a building without a foundation is very difficult to sustain. Path Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Understood.
Yeah, so what Arjuna is inquiring is that somebody, what Monarch Prabhu just said, somebody is following some ritual or whimsically doing something one day, whimsically doing something other day. Now, he's not against God. He may be living a sattvic life. What happens to them? Do they attain spiritual nature or not? Therefore, this verse number 1 is a very important inquiry. And the lecture that I'm going to send, Prabhupada is going to again emphasize what Arjuna is asking in this verse. Verse number. So Shruti has a point in the section in the chat. I will repeat. So chapter 17, section 1 is verses 1 to 4. Recognize faith level from the modes. And chapter 17 title in Sanskrit is Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga, the divisions of faith. Everybody should give kudos and appreciation to Shruti, that Shruti right now is sitting on an airplane and listening to Bhagavad Gita class, taking notes instead of wasting time watching movie or sleeping. So many of you who travel get this instruction from me that make your travel as bhakti yoga. So Shruti is also traveling right now, but now airplanes have Wi-Fi. So she is using the technology and making her travel as bhakti yoga. Everybody get inspired from Shruti. And next time you have to travel in similar way and make your travel also as bhakti yoga. Shruti, thank you for teaching all of us. Everybody, do you all get inspired by Shruti?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And it's great to know that she's traveling in this and still she's attending the class. That's great.
Yeah. So sometimes if it is not possible, that's a different story, that you listen to the recording. But facility is available. So Prabhupada said, we are not against technological developments as long as the technology is used in Krishna's service. That's exactly what Shruti is doing. Exactly what Srila Prabhupada did 50 years ago, that Prabhupada used that dictaphone to record his lectures and messages and translations and everything. It was very unique for a sannyasi to use an electronic device and like a dictaphone. And Prabhupada said, I'm using it in Krishna's service. It is Krishna's energy. Thank you, Shruti. All right. Let's read verse 1 purport. Let's see. Everybody has read, I think. Anybody? Yeah, Malti. 17.1 purport.
Hare Krishna. 17.1. In the fourth chapter, 39 verse, it is said that a person faithful to a particular type.
Malti, your voice is breaking.
Am I not audible?
Yeah, it's better now. Now continue from the start again.
In the fourth chapter, 39 verse, it is said that the person faithful to a particular type of worship gradually becomes elevated to the stage of knowledge and attain the highest perfectional stage of peace and prosperity. In the 16th chapter, it is concluded that one who does not follow the principle laid down in the scriptures is called asura, demon, and one who follows the scriptural injunctions faithfully, it is called a deva or demigods. Now, if one with the faith follows some rules which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunction, what is his position? His doubt of Arjuna's is to be cleared by Krishna. Are those who created some sort of God by selecting a human being and placing their faith in him, worshipping in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Does such person attain the perfectional stage of life? Is this possible for them to be situated in real knowledge and elevated themselves to highest perfectional state? Do those who do not follow the rules and regulations of the scripture, but who have faith in something and would worship God and demigods and men attain success in their effort, Arjuna is putting this question to Krishna.
So Prabhupada says that now if one with faith follows some rules which are not mentioned in scriptural injunctions, what is his position? Some people worship demigods. Some people worship semi-gods. Semi-god means somebody has called himself as God and he's saying, you worship me. Few years back, one person in India, he created an Archa Vigraha form of the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and he placed it in his home temple as the Archa Vigraha form, and he was worshipping with a lamb. There was a video in the news. That's completely whimsical. And Arjuna is asking that somebody is worshipping somebody or anybody or whosoever, which is not scriptural based, what happens to them? Can they attain perfection? Prabhupada explains perfectly in the purport as well as the lecture that I'm going to send to you. I request all of you to please listen to it immediately after I send. I mean, those here in around Toronto area is quite late. You can listen to it first thing tomorrow morning. But those in India and Nepal time zones, it's morning for you. Immediately after I post, listen to that Prabhupada lecture immediately. There's also a very beautiful kirtan at the start of the lecture. And Prabhupada explains what I just explained, all of this point at the start. Prabhupada also explains the same with very nice clarity. Monarch?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, does this question from Arjuna covers Islam and Christianity since 5,000 years before when Arjuna raised this question? At that time, practices of Islam and Christianity has not started.
So understand that the yugas are continuing, the creation cycle continues, right? So whatever is happening in Kali Yuga right now has already happened multiple times. We have discussed in 12-hour day of Brahmaji, there are 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas. Brahmaji's 1 year is 360 days, and right now Brahmaji is 51 years of age. So how many times these cycles have happened? So these cell phones, these satellites, all these are not new. They have all existed in previous cycles. They may have just been discovered at a particular point in time. So Arjuna's question is generic so that, say, today we may have some religion and tomorrow some new religion comes up. It still falls within the umbrella that it is non-scriptural faith. What do you do? Therefore, Arjuna made it generic that his faith is non-scriptural. Can be anything. Today you have 1,000 religions. Tomorrow there is 1,001 religion. That also falls as outside of scriptural faith. Mona?
Got it. So, irrespective of the yugas, okay, it's a generic question from.
Yeah. He made it open, knowing that right now not all religions are there. I mean, if you count all the religions, say it's 1,000 religions, few years from now, somebody else may come up with a new religion altogether. It still will be outside of the purview of scriptures.
Got it, bro. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Anybody left to read? I think everybody has read. All right. Diksha, verse number 2 translation, Diksha Basnet.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 17, verse number 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance. Now, hear about this.
So faith can be of three types. Now, Arjuna has already stated in 17.1 whether the faith is in goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, what is the point of Krishna repeating the same thing? The emphasis of Krishna repeating is the word Swabhavaja, that born of one's nature. Our nature also determines our faith. There is nobody who is faithless. Even the faithless person is not faithless. Generally, the word faithless is used for an atheist. But even atheists have their own version of faith. So atheists have the faith in the non-existence of God. And those who are theists, they have the faith in existence of God. So atheist is having faith in non-existence of God. Is there any essential difference between the two? Not really. Both are matters of faith. The word faithless is often referred to lack of faith in spiritual. Anything which is so connected with God is referred to as faith, and anything not connected with God is referred to as faithless. But in a broad sense, faithless is impossible because faithlessness means not having any faith. But I clearly explained that theists have faith in existence of God and atheists have faith in non-existence of God. Therefore, faithless is impossible. Padma Kumar, verse number 2, purport.
Those who know the rules and regulation of the scriptures, but out of laziness or indolence give up the following these rules and regulations are governed by the modes of material nature. According to their previous activities, the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, they acquire a nature which is of a specific quality. The association of the living entity with different modes of nature have been going on perpetually. Since the living entity is in contact with the material nature, he acquires different types of mentality according to his association with the material modes. But this nature can be changed if one associates with a bona fide spiritual masters and abides by his rules and the scriptures. Gradually, one can change his position from ignorance to goodness or from passion to goodness. Conclusion is that blind faith in a particular mode of nature cannot help a person become elevated to the perfectional stage. One has to consider things carefully with intelligence and the association of a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, one can change his position to a higher mode of nature. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada says this faith, this nature that we have acquired, it can be changed if one associates with a bona fide spiritual master and abides by the rules and scriptures. Meaning one can change one's modes. This is what one has to do. Srila Prabhupada says one has to consider things carefully with intelligence in association with bona fide spiritual master. So, Swabhavaja, that we are born with faith, with a particular kind of nature, and this shapes our faith. But faith can be changed. We have discussed this at great length, that faith is like a muscle. If somebody is born with a weak muscle, he can exercise and build his muscle. And if somebody is born with a very heavy muscle but does not exercise, he will lose his muscle. Similarly, somebody may be born with Krishna conscious faith, but if he associates with demoniac people, then he will lose his Krishna conscious faith. And somebody who is not born with Krishna conscious faith, by doing activities of Krishna consciousness, such as doing devotional services, reading scriptures in devotee association, doing japa, etc., then he can build his faith exactly as one builds muscle by exercise in a gym. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken to elevate our understanding of faith. Questions, comments, realizations? Diksha Khatka, verse number 3, translation, chapter 17. All right. Mansi.
Hare Krishna. Text 3. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Hare Krishna.
So person is made of Shraddha, that as is one's faith, so is the person. So in this verse, Krishna is talking about the importance of faith in shaping us. That Jiva is simply made of Shraddha. As is the faith, so is the person. Everything about us is largely dependent on our faith. We may not understand the role the faith plays in our life, but everything is dependent on faith. In 17.2, Krishna has said that our faith is determined by our nature based on Swabhavaja. And here Krishna is saying, faith is our essence. Now, question becomes, where exactly is faith situated in our body? Now, original faith is transcendental, is in pure goodness. Soul in the material world is covered by the subtle body, and subtle body shapes the perceptions and actions of the soul. Our current faith is situated in our subtle body. Depending on how our subtle body is situated in goodness, passion, or ignorance, that is the way presently our faith is. This faith will gradually change or evolve. The faith will develop stronger and purer as we become purified. The whole process of spiritual advancement is gradual increase and increase and increase of the faith. So I already described that faith is like a muscle. The more we exercise the muscle, the stronger the muscle becomes. Similarly, all of us, that certain activities we do, Krishna conscious activities, will increase our faith, such as association with devotees, study scriptures, bhajana kriya, learn from devotees. And our faith and conviction will increase, just as by exercise, the muscles increase. So question posted in the chat is faith physical like subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego, or is just an emotion? I have not read anywhere which says faith is a physical thing. So I would say faith is just an emotion, but I can be wrong, but I have not read so far anywhere. So right now I will go with the answer that faith is an emotion. If later on I come across something, then I will rectify my answer. Right now it's my Pratyaksha Praman because I have not read anywhere saying that faith is physical or something. Does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Monarch can read verse number 3 purport, faster pace.
Text 3 purport. Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is. But his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant according to the nature he has acquired. Thus, according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now, the real fact is that every living being, as is stated in the 15th chapter, is originally a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into the contact with the material nature in conditional life, he generates his own position by association with the different varieties of material nature. The resultant artificial faith and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, originally he is nirguna or transcendental. Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without fear, Krishna consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna consciousness, then that path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to this path of self realization, then he's surely to be conducted by the influence of the modes of nature. The
All
word
right. So Prabhupada explains about the modes of our faith, how it is in different modes, and it will soon become clear when we discuss and populate the chart for verse number 4. Questions, comments, realization so far? So I will explain when and what to populate on the chapter 17 chart. Very soon we'll populate from verse number 4. Till that time, take notes on the chart. I will bring up a slide on the screen and then you can populate the chart. Malti, verse number 4 translation.
Hare Krishna. Male in the goodness, the demigods, those.
Your voice is not clear, Malti.
Is it okay now, Prabhuji?
Yeah, better.
Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, those in the mode of passion worship demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Hare Krishna.
So how different people in different modes worship differently. Now we may have heard earlier that those in goodness worship Vishnu, those in passion worship Brahma, and those in ignorance worship Shiva, Durga, or Kali. Now those who worship demigods are in goodness, and those who worship Shiva, Kali are in ignorance. So how do you understand this contradiction? The point is that there are levels within the modes also. So first and foremost, that faith in scripture itself is in the mode of goodness. If one does not have the basic level of goodness, one cannot have faith in scripture. So faith in worship of Vishnu, you can say it is goodness. So within goodness, you will have levels of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Within passion, you will have levels of goodness, passion, ignorance. And within ignorance, you will have levels of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So faith in worship of Vishnu is goodness, goodness. Faith in worship of Brahmaji is in goodness, passion. And faith in worship of Shiva is in goodness, ignorance. Now, goodness, ignorance means that there is basic platform of goodness, but within there are ranges. To understand this in another way, we can say that animals are in different modes. Say people say that cow is in the mode of goodness, lion is in the mode of passion, monkey, jackal, examples are in the mode of ignorance. But basically, all animals are in the mode of ignorance. The point being discussed is that animals are in ignorance, but within ignorance, there can be levels of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Therefore, ignorance goodness is that cows are in the ignorance goodness, that they are gentle. But still, cow is an animal. Animal is be in ignorance. And there can be ignorance, passion would be animals like lion, that they are very ferocious and passionate animals. Therefore, they are in passion, but essentially it's an animal. It will be in ignorance. And there is ignorance. Ignorance would be animals like monkey, jackal, vultures, and many other animals. So sometimes people get confused by seeing various scriptures, and scriptures seem to teach different things. So understand that scriptures can also be in the mode of ignorance, that Shiva uses scriptures to preach to demoniac people and ghosts. So as to bring them to higher elevation level, but that particular scripture is in the mode of ignorance. Pratyush, verse number 4, paragraph 1, faster pace.
In this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead describes different kinds of worshippers according to their external activities. According to scriptural injunction, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable, but those who are not very conversant with or faithful to the scriptural injunctions worship different objects according to their specific situations in the modes of material nature. Those who are situated in goodness generally worship the demigods. The demigods include Brahma, Shiva, and others such as Indra, Chandra, and the sun god. There are various demigods. Those in goodness worship a particular demigod for a particular purpose. Similarly, those who are in the mode of passion worship the demons. We recall that during the Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war, he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in the black market. Similarly, those in the modes of passion and ignorance generally select a powerful man to be God. They think that anyone can be worshipped as God and that the same results will be obtained.
All right. Important point Prabhupada makes. All the purports are important. We are only reading few of them in essence of time. You all should read all the purports. So let's populate the chart. So you have the chart for chapter 17. So populate in the chart with the black boxes. So I have it on the screen. That's for chapter 17. The other chart is also similar, but populate with the black boxes, which is for chapter 17. So a yellow box will get populated on the screen, and you are writing under that particular box. So on the left side, you have the modes. One box is for general, and then you have modes of goodness, passion, ignorance. Of course, I have result. There are many other boxes. So the first box that you have is for worship and general. So the discussion for worship is from verses 4 to 6 of chapter 7. And the general discussion about worship is in verse number 4. You are writing, those who have given up Shastra out of laziness, whimsical, hence faithfully worship demigods. Next box is worship and goodness. Comes from verse number 4. Worship demigods for particular purpose. Example, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, etc. Next box is worship and passion. Again comes from verse number 4. Worship demons, thinking anyone can be worshipped as God. Example, Hitler, worshipped as God. Next box is worship and ignorance. Comes from verse 4. Worship ghosts and spirits. And the box under worship and result. All above are not worship of God. All right. I did want to complete verse number 5, 6, but we already had a long class. So I'm going to give you spiritual endeavor. We'll populate the chart, rest of the chart at our next class. Have undivided attention for the mandatory spiritual endeavor question. So standard spiritual endeavor is that read all the purports up to the verse we have covered and listen to Srila Prabhupada's lecture that I will post. It's a spectacular lecture. Prabhupada has only this one lecture for chapter 17. And the next two spiritual endeavor questions. I will bring up a slide on the screen that you can take a snapshot and you will all answer on the Google form. So spiritual endeavor question is the chart that you have on the screen for chapter 17. What is the most significant point on the chapter 17 chart? All right. What is the most significant point on the chapter 17 chart? For the next question, I'm going to bring up on screen a practical situation that has happened with me during the COVID times. So have undivided attention. You all are going to advise to me. Let's see if anybody thinks Bhagavad Gita is boring. So this is an actual situation, my personal actual situation during the COVID times. And I am giving you this as the spiritual endeavor. I will describe the situation only up to a particular point, and then the questions, and then you can take a snapshot of the slide. Everything is on the slide. You don't need to write down anything. So the situation is that during the starting phase of the COVID pandemic, many persons, or at least more than few people in Toronto area, would not put on a mask, even when it became apparent on how COVID disease was spreading through the droplets falling from the mouth and the nose. But some people were adamant. They were not putting on a mask. So I am, during this COVID time, when there were so many restrictions, I am at a grocery store. This one person without a mask is talking on a loudspeaker phone with a female on the other side of the phone as to what all items to buy. The female was telling him to buy a particular brand of apples. And then the female changes her mind. No. Buy another brand of apples. So he was on the speaker phone. Both were talking at a very, very high-pitched voice. You could hear them at the other corner of a very big box store. And this person is without a mask. Now, no offense to anyone. The female on the phone was sounding exactly like my favorite Donald Duck, which they show generally in Australia and New Zealand in cricket, when a batsman is out without scoring any runs. So this is the situation, and I am about to walk to this person to give him some advice and tell him few true statements. So I'm going to pause here and I will describe the incident only up to this point. And the questions for you all to answer is that you all need to advise to me on the below mandatory questions. Question number 1 is, why am I giving you this homework question? Question number 2, please advise me what to do and or what not to do in this situation, and based on what. Question number 3, whatever else you want to comment on the incident. Please take a snapshot of this slide, what you have on the screen. You will populate the answers on the Google form. You can always message me directly or email me, whichever way works for you. Everybody crystal clear on all the spiritual endeavor questions? Somebody wants to repeat? You're going to have fun? Ankur Prabhu.
It seems like definitely Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu,
But
for sure.
I don't know if it's all related to like
So I don't need the answer right now.
yeah.
You'll populate your answer on the Google form. Do
Okay,
you have a
Prabhuji.
question? Do you have a question, or you are?
No, actually, I just asked as you mentioned that it's all related to whatever we did until now, until 17 chapters, right? So we have to populate it from them. But as I think well, some of them will start from in between or maybe from last 1 week.
That's okay. It's
It's fine, right?
It's a completely open-ended.
Oh yeah. That's we can give our own comments, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody crystal clear on the spiritual endeavor?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Anybody finds Bhagavad Gita boring?
No, Prabhuji.
No.
It will connect to our real world.
Very good.
But the only thing I face is most of the people will stop talking to you when you start working on what actually Bhagavad Gita said, and you start working on that. So many people will start against you. Well, it's what I face because they mentioned it's a material world. How you gonna follow the Bhagavad Gita in this material world? Right?
And Ankur Prabhu, today you also asked you at the start that how do you live? So I'm giving you a practical exercise. This is an actual situation. I did not make this up. This is an actual situation that has happened to me, that I am about to walk to this person to give him some advice and tell him some true statements. It's not made up. It's an actual situation.
Yes.
So Bhagavad Gita is not fictional. We have to live according to Bhagavad Gita principles. Only then we will get purified and go back home, back to Godhead. Bhagavad Gita is the manual for how to live life in this world as a soul. Ankur Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, because when you thought that it's what actually Bhagavad Gita said, you want to bring all those into your life, but if you mention to other person, then there is my life. I want to live in my way, right? So you can't explain to anyone.
Yeah, we'll discuss all of that. It's a valid point. We'll discuss all of that, right? So there is a practice for you and there is a practice for others.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Very good. Diksha?
Prabhuji, I just want to ask, were you angry or were you compassionate or frustrated?
So I said, I am going to describe the situation only up to this point, and I am about to walk to this person to give him some advice and tell him few true statements. So it's an actual situation. I am describing only up to this point. What happens after this, we'll discuss in our following class. But for now, I am only describing up to this point so that you can give me some advice. Diksha?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Everybody crystal clear on the spiritual endeavor? I asked somebody to repeat all the points. Somebody can volunteer.
Prabhuji, shall I?
Yeah.
Read all purports up to verses covered. Listen to Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Question number 1 is most significant point in chapter 17 chart. And the other endeavor is we look at the slide, the situation that you describe, and answer 3 questions, which includes, why am I giving you this homework question? Please advise me what to do and what not to do in this situation based on what? Whatever else you want to comment on the incident.
Thank you. All right. Everybody is going to have fun.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Definitely, Prabhuji.
Only few devotees, not all.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
We are just past 10:30 p.m. Toronto time. Next week also our class will start 15 minutes early so that we can finish chapter 17, and then from following class chapter 18 will start and we'll do the Bhagavad Gita presentations for all the chapters. So all of you should start preparing if you have not already done. I have sent to almost all of you the revisions of the previous batch. Just listen to the revision and repeat in your own words. So even though one or two devotees are going to present, it actually is a revision for all of you. So all of you will prepare and come prepared to ask questions to the presenters. And those who will be presenting, visualize that you are standing in Goloka Vrindavan in Krishna's Darbar. And in the Darbar, Krishna, Balram, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and many other pure devotees are present, and you are trying to sell Bhagavad Gita. Sell as in just glorify Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, speak in that selling mood or in that convicted mood that you have so much conviction on the topic that you are presenting. So prepare nicely. So it's going to be a revision. It's been more than a year since we started. I don't know about you. I have actually forgotten chapter 1. So it's going to be a revision for me also. All right. We'll stop here. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Prabhuji. Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Thank you.